Download and upload more than ever before with an ultra-fast fiber connection. With 3 simple steps, you can be the one with an SLT fiber optic connection. Visit slt.lk.
Tonight, power of influence. President Maithripala Sirisena reveals reasons behind failure to bring bond scam culprits to justice. Clean as a whistle. The National Economic Council denies black money involvement in ETI Finance Company deal. Tourism made easy. The government moves to grant free visas in a bid to boost tourist arrivals. Brewing tension. Pakistan retaliates to India's airstrike by downing 2 jets and capturing 2 pilots.
Let nobody in the region or anywhere else even think about the fact they can harm my country.
India does not wish to see further escalation of this situation. India will continue to act with responsibility and restraint.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9 this Wednesday, the 27th of February 2019.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanaika. Let's start you off with your local stories. The entire region, along with global superpowers such as the United States and China, are deeply concerned over dangerously escalating tensions between the region's nuclear powers, India and Pakistan. Following attacks by both parties, Pakistan today closed its airspace as fears spiked of an all-out conflict with neighbouring India. We will bring you a full report on these developments later in the bulletin. But before that, the national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines announced that it has cancelled flights to Pakistani cities of Karachi and Lahore, which were scheduled for tomorrow following the temporary closure of Pakistani airspace. Passengers who are booked to fly to Karachi and Lahore are advised to contact their travel agents and visit www.srilankan.com for further information. Issuing a special notice, Sri Lankan Airlines expressed regret over the inconvenience and emphasized that the decision was taken under circumstances entirely beyond the control of the airline. The airline also said that it is closely monitoring the situation and is in constant touch with respective authorities on the matter. Now, it's exactly 4 years since the controversial central bank bond scam took place, sending tremors among Sri Lanka's populace. With those responsible for the mega theft still at large, President Maithripala Sirisena alleges that the current government is being governed by the very culprits who are behind the scam. Addressing an event in Colombo today, the president highlighted the importance of establishing a government which has the ability to take necessary action against the responsible persons. The 61st anniversary of Sri Lanka Audit Service Association was held in Colombo under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena today. Those who are named as main culprits related to certain cases through investigative reports are later promoted as senior officials. The value of those reports are then undermined. As per our calculations, we could save up to 25% of our state expenditure if we get rid of corruption and financial misappropriation. Although the President had given approval to establish the National Audit Commission by the 1st of August last year, many officials hesitate to implement it as they have realized it could hamper their acts of corruption. Even though 4 years have passed since the reports of the COPE and the Presidential Commission were released, we have been unable to take action against all responsible culprits of the central bank bond scam. The former central bank governor was sent abroad and we haven't been able to bring him before justice. In response to a question by the opposition during the end of 2017, I pledged to present the relevant bill on the establishment establishment of the National Audit Commission to the Parliament by January 2019. But how could I do so when there was a problem in delegating power for it? It wasn't politicians, but a certain group of state officials used politicians for this purpose. And when it comes to the central bank bond scam, I proved to the country who was responsible for the scam through a presidential commission. And as MP Sunil Handunethi mentioned about not bringing culprits before justice, how can we do it when it's those very culprits who happen to govern the country? We need a government that will bring Arjuna Mahendran back to the country. They haven't even started the forensic audit on the matter as recommended by the Presidential Commission. And when Auditor General came before the Parliamentary Working Committee to give his statement, the members questioned him whether he was qualified enough for the job. How can we possibly find solutions to this problem if parliamentarians act this way? The National Economic Council rejects the notion that black money entered the country when the subsidiaries of the ETI Finance Company were sold to Blue Summit Capital Management Company. The purchasing company is registered in Singapore, and during a media briefing today, members of the National Economic Council said that measures will be taken to protect depositors using other investors if necessary. According to what the central bank said, the ETI company has agreed to sell its asset for $75 million to Blue Summit Capital Management Company registered in Singapore. Upon that agreement, the Blue Summit company has already paid a sum of $54 million and has agreed to pay $16 million within a few days. This company, however, has said that they're not able to purchase the Swarna Mahal Finance Company. Accordingly, they will deduct $5 million for that company and has agreed to pay $70 million. When the ETI company gets money from the Blue Summit Capital, it can pay the depositors back. By now, 20% of deposits are paid back, and the central bank states that 10% more can be paid when Blue Summit pays the rest. Therefore, a total of 30% can be returned. Since Blue Summit doesn't buy Swarna Mahal Finance Company, the central bank has to find a buyer to sell its assets.
අධිකාරිය යටතේ සලකා බලලා තමයි කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ යටතේ 140ක ප්‍රමාණයක් ආයතනයකට පැවරීමට හැකියාව තියෙනවා.
ඊටු 160 අරන් තියෙන්නේ ලංකාවේ ලියාපදිංචි කරපු සමාගමක් බෙන් හෝල්ඩින්. ඒ ආයතන LTT එකට සම්බන්ධ එහෙම නැත්නම් LTT එකේ මුදල් විශුද්ධීකරණය කරා මේ වගේ චෝදනාවල් එල්ලුණු සමාගම් වලින් මේක ගත්ත කියලා තමයි බොහෝ මේ විරෝධතාවයක් එල්ලෙන්නේ.
Black money මේ හරහා ආවා කියන එක.
We're not informed that black money came into the country through these transactions. We're not trying to close this company down. What we are trying to do is to save this company by finding another investor, because then alone will investors have complete protection. If not, the last option is the insurance deposit protection, under which the depositors can be paid up to 6 million rupees each, and by which we will be able to pay up to 93% to the depositors. A senior Saudi advisor to the Muslim World League has pledged the organization's help in fighting drugs in Sri Lanka. During a 4-day visit to the country, Dr. Ahmad Hamad Jalan also promised support for the development of education in the island nation. Jalan, East Asian nation's advisor for the Muslim World League in Mecca, expressed these views during a meeting with Sri Lanka's governor of the Western Province, Asad Sali, at the governor's office in Colombo. He had also stressed that peaceful coexistence with other communities is imperative for the development of any nation. Now, there is a strong debate brewing at present on the relevance of the executive presidency. Calls to abolish it has been rife, with some staunchly being against the move. In this backdrop, opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa says that discussions are underway on whether to abolish the executive presidency or not. Most of the investigations are over. All that requires to be done is take necessary legal action. They are establishing new courts now, and it is very wrong of them to do so in order to satisfy their political needs. We don't agree with it, but we are currently discussing as to whether we should abolish the executive presidency. There is a major debate regarding this in the political arena. Now, the joint opposition is of the view that the executive presidency is intertwined with the provincial council system, and any anomalies in one cannot be resolved in isolation. Now, members of the joint opposition addressed a media briefing in Colombo today, saying that the abolishment of the executive presidency will inevitably require tinkering to the provincial council system as well. Now, they also went on to give details of a mega protest which is currently in the pipelines. 104 of 1 of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution says that the Election Commission should consist of 3 members when it meets. However, 104.3 says that even though a member of the Commission is absent, it has power to continue the meeting. They passed this amendment with these defects in such a haste. Ranil Wickremesinghe now says that we criticise Supreme Court judges because they didn't give us a favourable judgment, but it is a lie. We believe that all members who are appointed to the Supreme Court now are suitable for the position. Our concern is that those who are rejected are also suitable for the position. Don't we have the right to know the reason why they are rejected? When we ask if positions are given on seniority, they say no. If it is not seniority, don't those who get rejected have a right to know the reason behind their rejection? We decided to launch a mega protest under the patronage of Mahinda Rajapaksa against the government during the recent party meeting. We have organised the first step of the protest rallies on the 8th of March at 2 o'clock in Kandy in front of the market. We have also organised a protest march from Kataragama to Colombo in December.
විධායක ක්‍රමය උපක්‍රමශීලී විවත් කිරීමේ යෝජනාවක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. දැන් ඔබන මොකද කියලා මට ආරංචි ඔබලත් ඒකට කැමතියි කියන්නේ. සමානුපාතික මැතිවරණ ක්‍රමය යටතේ අස්ථාවර
An unstable parliament is a result of the proportional electoral system which is tied to the executive presidency. On the other hand, the 13th Amendment and the provincial councils are also tied to the executive presidency. All 3 of these are connected to each other and one cannot be resolved without resolving others. However, this is not the time to do that. We will resolve all these issues under a president of our own. Now, members of the Joint Committee of Government Executive Officers representing 15 services held a discussion with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday regarding salary anomalies, revocation of pension, unfair taxes and cancelling of vehicle permits. Stating that a proper solution was not given for their issues, the committee, however, launched a token strike at 8 this morning. The Joint Committee of Government Executive Officers also organised several protests in several districts in the country in line with the strike. The Minister of Public Administration, Ranjit Madduma Bandara, speaking at a media briefing this morning, however, said that the strike launched by the committee is in fact unfair. The Colombo Fort Magistrates Court today acquitted Mercelin Thomas from the case relating to the alleged assassination plot on the President and the former Defence Secretary. The court said that the CID had not produced any evidence against Thomas implicating him in the said conspiracy. Former DIG of the Terrorism Investigation Division, Nalak De Silva, who was also charged with similar allegations, however, was further remanded until the 6th of March. The Indian national, Mercelin Thomas, who was arrested in connection with investigations into alleged VIP assassination plot, was acquitted and released today. Thomas was arrested in September last year following a complaint by the director of the organisation dubbed the Anti-Corruption Force, Namal Kumara. Kumara revealed of a plot to assassinate President Maithripala Sirisena and former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The CID, however, had not produced any evidence against Thomas implicating him in the alleged conspiracy, and Thomas also denied the allegation in court, claiming his innocence. Although the court ordered the Indian national's release pertaining to the VIP assassination case, it however remanded him until the 13th of next month as he had violated regulations relating to the Immigrants and Immigrants Act. It was revealed that the Indian national overstayed in the country after his visa expired on the 21st of September in 2016. Meanwhile, former DIG of the Terrorism Investigation Division, Nalaka De Silva, who was also charged with conspiring to assassinate the incumbent president and former Defence Secretary, was further remanded until the 6th of March. The Working Committee of the United National Party convened at the party headquarters today. Now, the main focus of the meeting was about the much-debated allegations made by State Minister Ranjan Ramanayake against parliamentarians who use cocaine. Following that meeting, General Secretary of the party, Minister Akila Viraj Karewasam, said that State Minister Ranjan Ramanayake had made a special statement regarding the issue. The State Minister had clarified that his allegations were levelled against members of the opposition and not any UNP parliamentarians. he had pledged to reveal the relevant names. Responding to journalists, Karayavasa went on to say that no disciplinary measures will be taken against Ramanayaka in this regard and that CID is currently conducting investigations on the accused parliamentarians. Meanwhile, State Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka said that his only intention was to reveal the public regarding such indisciplined MPs so that the public will not be deceived to cast their votes during the upcoming election. Moving on with other local stories, in 2016, Board of Directors of the Millennium Challenge Corporation, an innovative foreign assistance agency of the United States, selected Sri Lanka to develop a compact, a large-scale 5-year grant program. Partnering with the Sri Lankan government, the US government was developing this compact for the specific purpose of reducing poverty and promoting economic opportunity for Sri Lankans. The two parties even signed an agreement last year to provide an additional $2.6 million in grant money to finalize the compact development. However, this process was put on hold during the latter part of 2018. It is in this backdrop that Minister of Finance Mangala Samaravira revealed the arrival of a new negotiating team from the US next month to kick forward the MCC compact.
Following the signing of an MOU between the US Embassy and the Mathura Chamber of Industry and Commerce last year, the new American corner was declared open under the patronage of Minister of Finance Mangala Samaravira and US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Elena Teplitz yesterday.
Over the past 10 years, our two-way trade has increased by 40%, from 410 billion Sri Lankan rupees in 2007 to more than 571 billion in 2017. And we look at investment in both directions in the future. And indeed, the U.S. Embassy supports a number of programs that help expand employment and business opportunities in Sri Lanka. We have representatives today from our Agency for International Development's U-Lead project. That project is revolutionizing Sri Lanka's entrepreneurship curriculum and providing vocational and technical educators with new tools to inspire young entrepreneurs. The combination of the Southern Province's youth, the American Corner, and U-Lead can help propel economic progress in the Southern Province.
Especially at a time when we endeavor to regain Sri Lanka's historic role as a major trade, maritime and shipping hub in the Indian Ocean, it is important to improve connectivity to the outside world. The United States being the largest export market in Sri Lanka, accounting for over 25% of our total exports, manufacturers and producers in the South, you have to seize this momentum to expand trade, investment and exports to one of the best and largest markets in the world. Recently, the US government approved the foreign military financing as well as the Millennium Challenge Corporation comeback program, which of course was put on hold, but we are looking forward to a team coming to Sri Lanka next month. And I'm hoping that the board meeting to be held in March will decide to give us that elusive compact again to us.
Now, the Galle Magistrates Court today issued overseas travel bans on 5 police constables attached to the Southern Provincial Special Investigation Unit who are evading the Criminal Investigation Department over the abduction and murder of 2 businessmen from Rathgama. Meanwhile, the court further remanded the 2 police officers, IP Kapila Nishantha and a sub-inspector of police at the Special Investigation Unit of the Southern Province, who were arrested in connection with the murders until the 13th of March. The investigation so far had revealed that the 2 businessmen were assaulted and murdered inside a house in the area of Gonamulla, and their remains were burnt at the Madagangoda Forest Reserve in Walasmulla. The magistrate also ordered the CID officials to hand over the remains of the 2 businessmen when the CID sought permission to send these remains to the government analyst. We got business news coming up on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Other Derana 24.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9, and let's take a look at your local stories, well, business stories rather. Now, the Cabinet of Ministers today approved a proposal to issue free visa for several selected countries in an attempt to attract tourists. Accordingly, the proposal presented by Minister of Tourism Development, John Amartunga, follows the grant of 6-month free visa period from the 1st of April this year for tourists from Thailand, UK, Australia, South Korea, Canada, USA, Singapore, Malaysia, New Zealand and countries of the European Union. Now, the government says that it has been observed that there is a significant drop in tourist arrivals during the period from April to October compared to other months of the year. Sri Lanka intends on attracting more Buddhist tourists as there are a host of religious and cultural events such as Vesak and Poson festivals as well as Asala Perahera during the period from May to August. Now, 13% of Sri Lanka is covered as national parks, reserves, sanctuaries and jungle corridors. So, therefore, it is no surprise that 38% of tourists visiting the country often come to experience the wildlife the country has to offer. A study conducted by the Federation of Environmental Organization, however, reveals that over 70% of tourists, in fact, had a bad experience due to various reasons such as harassment of wildlife as well as bad behavior or misbehavior of safari tourists. In a bid to address this issue, the Department of Wildlife Conservation and Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority has made it mandatory for all commercial safari jeeps to obtain legal certification to operate in Minneri and Kaudula National Parks as well as Hurulu Eco Park. This certification comes into effect from the 1st of July.
A series of workshops were organized to raise awareness on the new law to obtain legal certification for existing safari jeep operators at Polonnaruwa and Minneri National Parks recently. 400 out of the 700 safari jeep drivers operating in national parks took part for the workshop conducted by the Federation of Environmental Organizations.
We did a study, an empirical study in Yala about 3 years ago of tourists going into the park, and many of them, over 70% of them, told us that though they saw leopard, though they saw elephant, though they saw bear, the overall experience was really bad for them. The animals were being harassed, the jeep drivers, they didn't know how to behave. This is really bad for Sri Lanka, and especially as 38% of all tourists to Sri Lanka go to our national parks. And the department is to enforce a law from July that only those drivers with certification from this training program will be allowed to take visitors into the park.
Sri Lanka's wildlife tourism has the potential of becoming the best wildlife tourism destination outside Africa if we do things right. The way we are going now, we certainly won't achieve that vision. The natural resources are there for us to achieve it. Studies that have been done in the past have shown that Sri Lanka comes #1 outside Africa in observability of wildlife. That is the ease of seeing wildlife when you enter a protected area.
Now, OPEC and its allies will stick with their agreement to cut oil supply until the end of the year, pushing more adherence despite a demand by US President Donald Trump that the producer group ease its efforts to boost crude prices. The OPEC Plus alliance will meet in April to decide its output policy. Trump, in a series of tweets about oil prices since April 2018, wrote yesterday, quote, "Oil prices getting too high. OPEC, please relax and take it easy," unquote. The source said OPEC Plus would continue the supply cut agreement to balance the market until they see inventories going down from their current level to their 5-year average. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Russia and other non-OPEC producers agreed in December to reduce supply by 1.2 million barrels per day from the 1st of January for 6 months. A committee set up to monitor participating countries' adherence to the deal found compliance at 83% in January. Now, Sri Lankan shares fell for an 8th straight session today, with investors anticipating for next week's budget reading as well as the outcome of talks between government authorities and officials of the International Monetary Fund. The all-share price index closed lower for an 8th straight session, shedding 0.38% to 5,799.98. The lowest close since 25th of October. The turnover was 300.3 million rupees, well below last year's daily average of 834 million rupees. Here's Amanda Lokugamage from First Capital Holdings bringing you a full report.
Both bond and equity market continue to witness limited activity levels amidst prevailing weak economic conditions. Secondary market yield curve experienced a parallel downward shift, with overall market witnessing thin volumes. At the primary bill auction, the total offered amount was accepted in 1-year bill at a weighted average of 10.67%, while both 3 months and 6 months bills were rejected.
Now, the Sri Lankan rupee ended at 181 rupees and 57 cents against the US dollar today. The rupee has climbed 1.5% so far this year as exporters converted dollars and foreign investors purchased government securities amidst stabilizing investor confidence after the country repaid a $1 billion US sovereign bond in mid-January. Let's now take a look at how the currency traded against other major currencies around the globe. We got the latest on the India-Pakistan feud and how that affects the region coming up after this break. Stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is Other Derana 24.
Time for sports. Now, Moors Sports Club won the SLC 2020 Champions title at the 2020 Inter-Cricket Club tournament organised by Sri Lanka Cricket, beating champions NCC Sports Club. The final was played at Pisara Oval. Batting first, NCC only managed to score 173 runs for 7 wickets at the end of 20 overs. Moors reached the winning target of 174 runs in the last ball of the match with only 1 wicket in hand. That made Moors Sports Club the champions of SLC's T20 tournament for 2018 and 19. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.